Hey friends, it's Emily coming to you from the Heartfelt Creations Crafting Studio. It's great to be here with you again today. I hope you're having a beautiful Monday and that you had a wonderful weekend. Now, what a great way to spend a Monday in an online class with crafters from all around the globe. So if this is your first time joining us, welcome. If you've been to an online class before, welcome back. We're so glad that you're here. And I know I saw some of you were commenting that this is the first time you get to watch live. So I'm so grateful to spend the next 2 hours with you learning how to create a mini album from scratch, and we'll decorate it with the beautiful, luscious hydrangeas. I know many of you are completely new. You've never done this before. So some of our top tips when taking an online class is this. First of all, relax. Some of the top tips from crafters who have already taken many online classes is watch the class the first time through. Just watch it. You get the learning of it, and then you can go back after the class is over, rewatch it, pause it, and do it, and rewatch it as many times as you want because it will be added to your online class section. So if you're back, you know how we do these online classes. This is live, so you get to interact with me. I see your comments. So the more comments we get, the more interaction we have, which is great. Hi, Patricia. Hi, Leanne. It's great to see you, friend. Hi, Kelly. You said this is your first time. Welcome, friend. I'm so glad you're with us. Hi, Chris. Hi, Winita. Hi, Tamara. You said it's your first time as well. Rachel, you said hello from Christchurch, New Zealand. You are quite a ways away, and you said it's 5 a.m. So welcome. You got up before breakfast. So before we get started, I just want to say thank you for joining us. I know many of us from all around the globe are experiencing different things with everything that's happening around us. So I am glad to be with you, and I hope that you are safe, healthy, and well in your home. And what a great way to just take some space out of the day to create something together, and we're safely social distancing, right? Okay. So to get started, you should have received a PDF that gave all the different cuts with the dimension, and it was labeled like which pieces are used for the inside and out of the base of the album, which side was used for specific folios and gift boxes. So as we go along, if there's anything that does not make sense or that you're like, wait, hold on, that just was not clear, ask your questions, and this is a great place to just communicate, have some fun. So are you ladies ready to get started? Before we get started, I just want to give you a close-up of this beautiful album so you can get a preview in depth of what we're going to create. Does that sound like a good plan? So if you did not get the PDF, if you click on the link below, you can get that printed off, and I highly recommend actually following that PDF and cutting out all the pieces before you get started putting it together. Or if you want to, do it with the class later on and just kind of cut your pieces as you go following the PDF, that would be great too. Hi, Joanne. You said this is your first online class. Sharon, you said first time online from Florida. Yay. It's so great to be there. Karen, you said, hi, Emily, so excited. You're a great teacher. Thank you. It's great to see you. Candy, you said this is your first time watching and first time trying to make an album. I think when you create an album like this, you'll be pleasantly surprised that when you follow these step-by-steps, how simple it is. Because typically when you see a project like this, what you need is somebody to just guide you through those simple steps and give you kind of like the little, the Google Maps of how to create it, how to put it together. So you have the PDF with all the pieces you can cut out, and then I am your little Google Map director, I guess. I'm telling you where to turn left and turn right and which way to put it up and down. Does that sound good? So we're going to take a closer look at this album, and then we'll get into the heart of the project and get started creating it. So with this album, this is the front cover, all decorated. Now this is more of what I call a coffee table project. So if you wanted to switch up the colors, you can totally customize this and use the dimensions of this book and really create it your own. And as you're creating this, I would highly recommend snapping some photos and sharing it with our friends on Facebook so that we can see your progress as you're creating this little mini album. So on the front, on the album, the inside cover, the left side, we have a little folio called the Especially For You photo folio. So you'll notice that in your PDF. We'll take a closer look at that a little bit later. We've got some what we call belly band flaps on the edge that opens with a ribbon. And then in the center of this album, we have a little box. Now in this box, you could put like a little keepsake with lots of photos in it. You could put a little gift in there. It ties closed with a ribbon, which is really beautiful. So you can use your imagination on what you'd like to put in here. I think it would be great to store extra photos, but there is a box type on the bottom to hold this gift box in. So keeping this in mind, like the dimensions that I'm using could always be made larger, smaller, depending on what you want to do to recreate this. So with this, the one on the inside on the right is called a zigzag folio, and that one is a really pretty folio as well, and we'll get into, let me bring that more down on screen. There you go. So you'll just be able to see this really beautifully, and then you have those flaps. So this is the back of the inside, and then that just closes. Now, before we get started, we did not list this on the basic tools for the class, but if you wanted to have a magnetic closure, you could add magnets if you wanted to. Today I'm just going to be using ribbons to close this, but just keep that in mind. If you are a girl that loves to have your albums close, you can add magnets as well, but this one is just a ribbon closure. So with that, I think we are ready to get started. How does that sound? Okay, so to get started, we're going to use and create the inside and outside of the album base, which is a beautiful process to go through. So join me and we're gonna get started with that. So for this, these are labeled the inside and out pieces, and this is the album base. Minerva, hi friend, it's great to see you. You said you love the classes and always purchase them. Classes are great for learning new things. Rebecca, you said so lovely. Hi, Geraldine from Rexburg, Idaho. Yes, we have ladies from all around the U.S. and the globe. So if you haven't introduced yourself, don't be shy. Let us know where you're watching from. With this, the outer flap corners, or the outside flaps, the right and the left, they are cut to 6 inches by 7.5 inches. And then you're going to have this is a 1/2 inch. You'll score it at 1/2 inch and 1.5 inches. So if you cut 2 panels at 6 inches and 7.5 inches, you're going to take your score pal and you're going to score it at the 1/2 inch mark and at the 1.5 inch mark. So you'll do that all the way down, and then you'll do that on both panels, and those will be the outside flaps on the left and the right hand side. Now as we go through, if there's any step that you miss, just let me know, and we can always re-step through that. The back, the middle spine area is going to be a 6 by 6 piece, and there are no score lines on this. So to get started, the thing I like to do is just go ahead and glue the 2 pieces together to get started. So when you glue this together, you're going to put a little piece of glue or a strip of glue. You can use the Dry's Clear Glue for all the gluing today, or you can always use the, oops, I had a little clump of glue. You can use the Dry's Clear Glue, or you can always use a double-sided sticky adhesive as well, whichever works best for you or what you're accustomed to. So what you're going to do is you're going to take this 6 by 6 panel and you're going to hinge it on the left-hand side. And you're just going to leave a little bit of just a little gap from your first score line. So this is the 1/2 inch is just bumped underneath. And then you have that inch spine right on the left-hand side. So you'll do the very same thing on the right-hand side. So this is just your base. Now, when you're thinking about recreating this once you've done your first album, if you wanted to do more, you could always do different sizes using this as the base concept. Terry, you said, hi, you are from Maryland, and this is your 9th class. Welcome back. You are a pro at this. We're so glad to see you again. Thank you for registering. We love seeing new faces and our repeat crafters in these classes, and what a better way, a great way to get projects done and created that you just are maybe a little bit intimidated to create. Now, while this is drying, I actually just keep this whole piece flat and I start decorating the inside. So that's what you can do. So you can keep on moving. You don't have to worry about, oh, if I move this, it's going to move the glue or whatever. So we're going to start by decorating the inside flap, starting from the inside on the left-hand side. So we're going to take a look at that flap. So I'm going to take the folio out so we can see that a little bit better. Now, with this, we are going to glue down the 6x6. We layered it on a kind of a dusty blue cardstock. You could choose to do that or just cut your piece a little bit larger. But before we glue that to the base, we are also going to hinge in the belly band flaps, okay? Because those do hinge around the outer edge. So we're going to take this piece. Now just keep in mind you can follow exactly the pattern pieces that we did, or you can always use your own designs from the Cottage Garden collection. So it's totally up to you. Rochelle, you said, yes, this is regular cardstock. Yes, this is regular cardstock. If you wanted to use a thin chipboard, you could totally do that. But we are just using regular cardstock today. So totally up to you how you choose to use yours. Now, these belly band flaps, you can choose to create these however you like. But I am going to show you some tips that make it super easy for you. So I am using the album tags and accents die, and you'll see this on your PDF of how many you need to cut out. But for this section, you will want to cut out at least 4 of these. And the length of the belly band, you could make it longer, you could make it shorter. It really doesn't matter. This has an opening in it. But for us, we made that the white piece is cut to 3 inches, and it is scored at 3/8. You could go to, you know, 1/2 inch if you wanted to. And then this just layers on top. But the easy way to do this is just take your decorative paper and your cardstock and just go ahead and move your decorative piece about 3/8 inch up. You can measure it if you want. I'm actually going to do just a 1/2 inch just for this online class demo, but you could do 3/8 if you wanted to. My some score pals have 3/8, some are just a little bit longer. So you have that score line there, and then just bump this piece up to that score line, which is going to be the top piece, and then you want to just go ahead and tape it a little bit, and that's going to be the easy way to line up your paper with the die piece very easily. So we're just going to go ahead. You could also just glue it down right away if you wanted to. I'm just going to tape it. And then you can go ahead and just layer this die right on top and run that through. So just grab another piece of tape and you will just place that die right on top. And this is a great way to make some easy tabs, belly bands. I love using these tabs. We use them over and over on so many different projects. So if you don't have this one yet, this is one that I think you'll find yourself using over and over. And we're using it many different ways to create different pockets and kind of little interesting elements within this album that I think you'll find very fun and creative. So when you have that, you'll just pull away that tab piece. So that's the way I like to do it. How you choose to do this is totally up to you. But that is an easy way to make sure that your white cardstock base and your die piece are equally lined up. So that is the way that we cut those pieces out. So I just wanted to show you that real quick. So then you can go ahead and just glue those on top. So once that is cut out and everything, you can go ahead and just glue this down. I'm going to do that on both of these tags. So I'll go ahead and glue this decorative paper right on top. There we go. So you can do the 3/8 inch or 1/2 inch, whichever is easiest for you. If you do 1/2 inch, it might just make your tag or the center just not quite as close together. So completely up to you. Okay, so we have this. We're going to just wrap this around each side of this piece. And then we're going to go ahead and just glue a little bit down here. Rebecca, you said you need to get that die set. Yes, you'll see so many different ways we've used it today. You can actually use this die set as a card base as well, like a shaped card base, which is really, really pretty. But today we're using it lots of different ways. So you'll glue that to the edge of the back, and then you can just wrap that around. Just make sure that the score line is even with that side. So you've got that all lined up, and then you can just flip that around and you're ready to glue that to the left side of the inside of your album base. How easy is that? Isn't that cool? Okay, so we're going to go ahead and just pull this over a little bit, and we'll pop this right on the inside, on the left hand side. So you've got your belly band in the center, and if you wanted to at this point, totally up to you, you could use a hole punch or your crop-a-dial, whichever you prefer, and you can go in and just punch that hole. I'm just going to pull this up a little bit so I can see what I'm doing. So you can go ahead, you could do this before or after. I should have actually done it before, just so I can see it a little bit better, but I am just going to go ahead and punch that in. So you can punch the holes in before or after, whatever is most convenient for you. So we'll do that on both sides, and you've got those holes in there. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and move to the center. Sorry guys, I just moved my hand out of position a little bit, so I'm going to make sure that I watch that a little bit so I don't move it up too high off camera. So, okay, so here we go. So the center piece, we are going to go ahead and glue this piece right into the center. And if you are looking for measurements on what the sizes are for these, you can always review your PDF. Most of these are just a tad smaller than the 6x6, since that is the size of the base of the album. So it just depends on what kind of edge you want around that. So that is the center, and then we'll go ahead and do the right hand side. So the right hand is very similar to what we did on the left. So we'll go ahead and just glue this dusty blue piece to the decorative piece. So that will create the cover, and then we will do the very same thing with the belly band piece. So another tip when you are doing these belly band pieces is once you have these glued together, you can lay them on top of each other and punch everything at one time so that the holes are lined up. You don't have to use what I call the eyeballing technique. If you want everything super precise, that is a way to do that as well. If you wanted to do sponging along your paper edges, I would totally do that before you put your album together all at one time. That saves you a lot of time, but that is totally optional for you. We did not do that on this album. So with this, if you wanted to have those holes completely lined up, just line up those two pieces, and then you can just slide that in and punch your hole right in the center. So totally up to you how you want to do that. And then again, so this is a repeat of the first one we did. So just fold those, and you'll glue that on opposite sides of your decorative piece. So you'll just hinge that along the back. I'll just flip that. That's hinged. And you could even do it more towards the center if you wanted to. You can position that hinge where you want. So Juanita, you said when you were showing the album at the start, I noticed that what you had in this belly band was slipping out. How would you put something on the bottom so this would not happen? If you wanted to put in an extra piece of paper, like you could put in an extra piece of paper coming up here. So I would maybe, like, you could do, let's see, a 1.5 inch, 1 inch height, and then maybe do a 1/2 inch score line, just fold it over the back and glue down the sides. You would have a little pocket. If that makes sense, you could totally do that. So we're going to go ahead and do this. If you wanted to, you could also have added a magnet on the back of this panel and onto the back of your folios, and they would just snap in place to hold it that way as well. So you would have a couple different options if you wanted to do that. So this is your inside piece. So as you're working on the inside, that gives the album base some time to dry. So before we flip to the front, we're going to glue these strips in the center where the spine is. And the spine is a 1 inch size on both sides. So you'll add this on both sides. Hi Jean, it's great to see you. So tell me, have you ladies been busy creating different projects, or has it been a while since you have made something creative? And I'd also like to know, when you signed up for this class, what were you hoping to learn and what do you love about that? So with this, you are going to take, this is the entire inside piece. Now I know some of you have been, I will zoom out just a little bit so you can see this whole piece. Sometimes when doing a mini album, you can, okay, there you can see that whole piece. So there you can see that, and then we're gonna flip this around. So it's just flipped to the outside. So this is going to be your outside. Now just remember, when you flip this around, your cover is going to be on the right-hand side, and this is going to be the back flap. And make sure you don't accidentally flip this upside down, because we don't want you to turn this around and be like, oh my gosh, I put everything in upside down. So again, now your cover is on the right-hand side and your back flap is on the left. So Rebecca, you said you wanted ideas for mini albums as you have not made one before. You are at the right place. I'm so glad that you jumped on today and you're learning from this. These are just some basic steps that will allow you to create those beautiful mini albums. So Priscilla, you said you have been hoarding so far and you have everything needed. But you have so many ideas, you don't know where to start. Honestly, sometimes it is just like picking a project and just be like, okay, I am going to start with this. I'm going to follow it step by step until you have it completed. And then you have that feeling of accomplishment of like, oh my gosh, look at what I made. And you have the joy of creating it too. So we're going to get started on the back and the outside flaps. So we're going to work from left to right again. So to get started with that, I am going to bring up the finished album so you can see that. So this one, I like to, this is going to be the first flap that we're working on. This one can be created a couple different ways. Jolinda, you said this is a refreshing change in crafting for you. You've been making masks for friends, family, and a hospital. Thank you for doing that, Jolinda. That's amazing. It's amazing that you did that, and now you're back to doing something that you also love, which is your hobby of creating beautiful projects in paper crafting. So to get started, you could use different panels with this. I am using one of the beautiful card front panels for the inside back flap. So we're gonna start on the left-hand side again. Now this one is done a little bit differently. It has a window in it. So with this one, I am going to lay this down, and then we're going to use this opening and we're going to glue that in. Now this was cut out with the Cut Mat Create 2A die. So that is the one that works beautifully with this. So I just make sure that I line the outside of the panel up symmetrically, and then we're gonna go ahead and glue this in. Now, if you are adding photos, this is the place I would personally put a photo in. And if you don't know what photo is going in because you're going to gift this to a friend and they add their own photos, you could always add this in, but just leave an opening in the top so they can slide their own photo in. So that is a way that you could customize that or have a removable photo. Our next step is going to create kind of a window-like effect. So you could use clear cardstock, acetate, whatever you prefer, and just create kind of that window look. Now this step is not necessary, but if you like creating that window look, it is a nice little accent piece. So we're going to just glue that to the back of it, pull that tissue away, and you have that beautiful kind of window look with it. So with this, oops, one thing with the windows, and want to make sure you don't get glue over that. That is probably my pet peeve with adding windows. You got to wash them sometimes afterwards if you accidentally mess up. And then we have this beautiful lace piece that comes from the same album tags and accents. I really love that as kind of a window curtain look. So if you have some window accents, that is a nice kind of elegant lacy piece to create with. Then we're just going to go ahead and put this on top on the left-hand side. When you glue this down, if you want to add a removable photo, just go ahead and glue down 3 sides, and you have like a pocket that you can slip other things into after you have designed this, which is really pretty. So that is a quick way to add kind of a pocket with some ways that you can add some additional things. You know what? I just remembered something I forgot to do, which this is something that I always kind of like, I have to really watch myself. Now, you may do this as well, But these pieces need to go on first. Have you ever done that where you glued something down first before you got the cart before the horse? Well, I just did that. I was afraid I'd do that, and I did, so please forgive me. I'm sorry about that. These pieces, these are the, let's see, this size is 3 inches by, oh, it's like the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It's 11, 5 and 11/16. These are going to be supports that not only cover the spine, but they also give extra support. So if you do what I just did and you forget to add these in, since that glue has not dried yet, we're just going to slide it underneath and it all will be good. So we're just going to lay this over the spine, make sure that it is lined up with the piece we just glued. And that covers the spine, but it also adds strength to the spine, especially if you're using cardstock. So that's just a way to continue to kind of strengthen that spine while adding beautiful paper. So that just goes right over the spine. I'm not super picky about how much hangs over each side. It is just because it will get covered by the other decorative papers. Rochelle, you said, so glad you make mistakes so we know what to do. Yes, you know, you'll find that when things are live, we make mistakes and we just figure out how to fix it when we make mistakes. And that is the beauty of creating. So with this, once you have this beautiful piece for the center, I had the flowers on the top left-hand corner. You could create them different ways. You can kind of see here. Some of it does get covered, so if you wanted to have it going the other direction, you could do that too. So we're going to glue that onto that dusty blue colored cardstock, and we'll just glue that right down on the center. Okay. Rachel, you said, when cutting the window, do you leave the tissue on? Yes, typically when I cut the window, I do leave the tissue on, and that is just so that I don't get it dirty and fingerprinty. So that is why I typically leave the tissue on until I need to remove it when I'm using it. So just kind of look for your score marks where the spine starts on each side here, and then just position that in the center, and that creates that middle piece. That will actually be the back of your album. So we are going to move to the outside edge, and for the outside, we have this beautiful kind of designed green paper that will be covered with all this beautiful accent pieces. Let me just pull that in for you. So you can really, you don't see all of it, but you just see it as more of a really nice background. Okay. Karen, you said you have been making masks for healthcare workers as well. You found you're much better with paper than fabric. Certainly comes out straighter, right? But when I was a kid, I used to do a lot of sewing and stuff with fabric too, and I find that paper cuts a lot straighter, a lot easier, right? But good for you in doing that. What have the rest of you been doing? Have you been doing creative things, or have you been making some masks as well? Jennifer, our class teacher, some of you may have met her. She has been busy making a lot of cloth masks. They're very cute. The ones that she's been making have been super cute as well. Okay, so we are going to go ahead and glue this on the right hand side, and that creates the base for the front and back. Isn't that amazing how beautiful that comes out so quickly? Rebecca, you said that cover is stunning. Thank you. I cannot wait to show you the accents and embellishments at the end. So Shirley, you said you made masks for the local hospital, and you said you've been making scrub caps and masks. You guys are awesome. I love you. You guys have been so amazing. Okay, Gail, you said you've been crafting to your heart's content. How fun is that? Okay, so we have completed the album base on the inside and the outside. So we have like that foundation and kind of that structure down. If you wanted to fold it, you could. I'm just going to continue to lay this one to the side, and we'll create one of the folios. That will just give everything some time to dry, and then we can come back and continue creating the base. Does that sound like a plan? So we are going to create, I'm just going to lay this, let's lay this to the front. When I'm doing a larger project like this, I have a smaller workspace, so I have to kind of be very creative and make sure that I keep everything in the right spot. So, and that I use all the pieces, right? Okay, so we're going to work on the most basic folio first, and on your PDF, you'll see it called the Zigzag Folio. And that is this one. We'll get a close-up of this before we get started. So it looks like this. I'm just going to pull this name off. I have to label them so I remember the names. So with this, you have a zigzag folio, and it opens. You could have this folded a couple different ways. We just have it as a zigzag. And then there is a tag that goes down the top center, which that is your cue that you don't want to glue a certain part together. And you can use this for a tag, or you can always use that as a hidden slot for hidden journaling or extra photos. So as we go through, just kind of keep this in mind. Like this, we just added one of the beautiful papers, but this would be a great spot for photos. So when you add these corners, don't glue them all down so that you can easily slide a photo in when you're ready to do that. So I'm going to pull out those pieces for this one. So you want to pull out your pieces that are labeled for the zigzag folio card. Has this been helpful so far? Bonnie, you said you've just finished doing tax time, so this is very refreshing. Oh my goodness. This is so much more fun than taxes, right? Doing numbers is something that just kind of fries your mind, so it's always great to go back and do something creative. Priscilla, you said you've been watching Heartfelt Creations YouTube videos on making albums. That's amazing. That's another great resource if you feel stuck. And any of these online classes will get added to your class tab in your account, so you can go back and rewatch these as many times as you need as well. So we're going to look at the measurements of this, and then we're going to go get started on creating this. So this one is a very basic folio card, but sometimes it can be a little bit confusing. So you're going to have two pieces of cardstock, and these are going to be cut 5 1/4 inches by 8 inches, okay? So you're going to have two of these, and you're going to fold them in half. So you're going to fold them at the 4-inch mark. So it's pretty much like having two like A2 size cards, okay? But you are going to put them together like this, okay? So I know in the beginning it might be a little bit like, wait, what's she doing? Okay, so one of the folds is going to be in this direction, and one of the folds is going to be in that direction. And you're going to bring them together in the center, okay? That's all you're going to do. So lay this piece down with the fold on the right and add some glue. And we're going to do 3 sides of glue. We're going to do some on the side and the bottom, and that gives us space to insert a hidden pocket. And then you're going to take the other side and you're just going to lay that right on top. So this fold is on the left. So just bump that apart just a little bit to give those folds an easy way to come together. Okay, so now you have that zigzag fold, okay? So when you open that, it will look like this. Tarma, you said you have been rolling paper roses for shadow boxes for Mother's Day. You have done a few hundred roses. You go, girl. That's amazing. And you said this class makes the process less intimidating. Thank you for sharing that. I've had so many crafters that have taken the online classes, and they said before they took the class, they felt completely intimidated, didn't think they could do it. But when you break it down step by step, anyone can do it. So that is really the key. So kudos to you for investing in the class and really helping you break it down, because that is the way we learn, and it just takes the bulk of the intimidation off. And it's like, okay, I can do this in little baby steps. So to decorate this one, you've got that pocket in the middle. You've got it glued shut in the bottom so it doesn't fall out. And then we're just going to start from the front. The front and the fold is on the left. Not the left, right. Sometimes I get my lefts and rights mixed up. Okay, so if you wanted to, you can just open it up. Just open it up like this, and we will decorate the one side, and then we will reverse to the opposite side. So you've got this panel. Let me grab that one real quickly. Here we go. So I use this one. You could do it front or top for the little flower piece. You could do it either way. So we're going to go ahead and glue that. So this folio I found was a pretty simple, quick and easy process. And it would also be a great card that is very easy to do with a little bit of journaling or some photos in the center too. This picture in the center, if you wanted to, you could use one of the Cut Mat Create dies, cut this picture out, and add your own photo to it and do something similar to what we did with the window on the back flap of the album. So you could use that as well. So you can really do some different techniques and kind of jazz it up a little bit more if you wanted to. Gail, you said you would have the glue all over your scoring board if you worked on it. Yeah, you know, I was thinking about that before too. It's like I should put a paper down, but I never got to doing that. So hopefully we won't have too much glue on the back of it, right? Okay, so we're going to go ahead and put this piece on the right hand side, and then we'll do exactly what we did for the album. Just flip it around and we'll start from the other side. So starting again on the left hand side, we're going to put the beautiful house. Don't you guys just love this image? Let's zoom in on that a little bit. I always think this image just is a very beautiful, serene image. This is in the cottage, I get my cottages, the cottage garden collection. Oops, there we go. Do you just love that? Now, how many of you vote that we should have a stamp and die, that we could decorate a house like this with a stamp and die? If you think that would be a great idea, let me know. Okay, so Barbara, you said you love this collection. You missed it when it came out, so you didn't get the I Want It All. I'm waiting for my birthday month to get everything. You know, if you miss this collection, we have a little bundle with a paper collection, I believe the Hydrangea, for a 10% discount that you could take advantage of that as well. Then for the center, we're going to use this piece with the stripes. We're going to go ahead and just glue that down. And then we'll finish it off with a beautiful lavender hydrangeas. How many of you absolutely love hydrangeas? I think those are some of the most beautiful flowers. And I love how they have so many different ways that you can color them and different color combinations. I have a hydrangea plant beside my house and I saw it's not green yet, so I'm hoping it didn't die over the winter. Okay, so we have, this side has quite a few decorative pieces, so we'll just start from the left-hand side again. And this piece we used 4 times. It's maybe a little bit hard to see, but it's this decorative piece here from the album Tags and Accents die. You'll see that we use that die so much in this class today. And hey, we have a special savings just for you as a thank you for taking the class. Speaking of the die, reminded me of this. You can get a free die with the code 808-724. The code 808-724 will get you a free die of your choice with a $100 purchase. So if you have some items on your crafting wish list, you can go ahead and get a free die of your choice, and that expires on May 9th. So make sure you take advantage of that if you have some goodies on your crafting wish list that you don't have yet. So with this, I am just doing 2 sides so that if you wanted to add a photo, you could always do that. So just remember that when you're gluing down the decorative pieces for this specific one. So we're going to do that on each corner, and then this beautiful piece, we just used 2. You could, let's see, this one has a right and a left, so I just want to make sure that I'm grabbing the right one, and we'll just lay that out right away. And then you can put it wherever you want, and if you wanted to add more, you could. Let's see, I'm going to put this one up here. Okay, so here we put it right next to each other, so you can choose what you want to do with that. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and glue that. So I went out of range a little bit. Rebecca, you said you do love them, but you have trouble growing them in the garden. You had 20, but now you only have 11. Wow, that's a lot of hydrangea plants. I was in New Zealand last year, and we were in a spot that had absolutely stunning hydrangeas. It was one of the, I know I have some ladies registered from New Zealand today, so you guys might have some in your backyard too, but I saw some of the most beautiful hydrangeas when I was there. So we're going to go ahead and glue this on both sides. This corner is absolutely exquisite. I love how this turns out. I'm using this as a photo corner. And that will complete that inside piece. Now if we flip this around, you'll see that we have 2 more, and it's basically just on the opposite side where the other lavender flower is. And you get to choose where you want to position this, if you want to do it on the bottom corners or if you wanted to do one on the top and the bottom, which is I think what I'm going to do today. So Candy, you said, oh darn, you just placed an order this weekend. And you know, hey, maybe you could call in and see if they've processed it. I don't know where they're at with that, but maybe if it's Monday, maybe if they haven't processed it yet. If you need to contact customer care, you can always email support@heartfeltcreations.us, or you can call at 888-773-3088. Okay, so we've got this all put together. You can fold it however you prefer. If you want to have that zigzag, that will go together like this. So you can kind of fold that and have some fun with that. And that will complete this one. Now, if you wanted to, that will go into the back right-hand side then. But we're just going to lay this one aside, and we are going to work on the other folio. Oops, I forgot one thing. There is a tag that you can pop in the center if you want to do the tag. This is cut out of the pattern paper with the tags using the tickets and tags dies, and these two layer on top of each other for a beautiful tag look. So you can go ahead and layer these two on top of each other, and then you can put that into the spot in the middle. If you wanted to go ahead and punch your hole in the center there, and then you've got that one all done as well. Within the tickets and tag dies, there is this little these little circles that are really beautiful that you can also glue on top. I'll just glue one really quickly. So wherever we punch those holes is where we add one of these circles as well. You could do one on just one side or both if you wanted to, but it just kind of finishes off those holes. So if you wanted to add that over each of the places that we punched, just add some glue around there. You can pop your little tab on top. You can add some ribbon through the center, and you've got a beautiful tag that looks very professional. So that one will just get slipped into that center piece that was open, or you can use that for hidden journaling or your photos and some fun things like that. So we're going to go ahead and lay that down, and we're going to work on the one called the Especially For You Photo Folio. So how's it been so far? Have you learned? Tell me what you have been learning. This one is, okay, I grabbed the right one. Yes, Especially For You. This one's a little bit more involved. I find that this one has some really fun techniques that I love that are simple, yet really creative in the way that they're put together. So we're going to get started with that one. Barbara, you said the longer you watch, the more you love this album. Doesn't that just kind of grow on you? Actually, you know what? I'm going to put the panels, I'm going to separate some of these panels out a little bit so that we have a little bit of a differentiation. So we are going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to show you how to do the base piece. And you might want to play around with this a little bit before you just dive into it. But this piece, I have it labeled here. Okay, so you're going to cut a piece of paper that is 8 by 10.5 inches. And this is going to be the base for this Especially For You. Let's go ahead and look at this before we get started making it. This has a belly band over it, so we're going to take that off. And then you have this beautiful tag flap, and it has a beautiful pocket here that goes underneath as well. So we are going to just have some fun showing you how you can create this. Now, keep in mind, this would be just beautiful by itself. So this technique in itself is very much a standalone fun card project, or just a really mini album. So to get started with this, we're going to take a 8 by 10.5 inch paper, and we are going to score it at the 4-inch mark and the 5 1/4 inch mark. So since mine has, let's see, since mine does not have the 1/4 inch, I'm going to move it over just a little bit. So basically you are folding it in half on both sides. I hope this is half. And if you're doing this at home, I hope that your score pal has all those little, is it the 1/8 inch or 1/4 inch? So you're basically doing, folding it in half both ways, okay? So with this one, once you've done that, you are going to cut a slit into one of them. I'm going to open this up so you can see this, okay? So you are going to cut a slit into the center of one side, okay? So if we are holding this with the slit on the left, you are going to have this cut in a slit on the left-hand side of the section that you scored at 5 1/4, okay? So to do that, all you have to do is just bring in your paper trimmer and just start your cut right there in the center and just cut that out, okay? Does that make sense? And you said you've never seen this before. How cool. Okay, so you have that. So now what you're gonna do is you have this cut on the left-hand side. You have this score down the center, so you're just gonna go ahead and fold this in half. Okay, so I'm just gonna open this up again so you can see that. So you have the slit, the left, and then you fold it in half. And then you're gonna go ahead and fold the top down, okay? Does that make sense? So we're gonna just open it again so you can see that. Because I know that when seeing it for the first time, it's like, wait, which way are we flipping and flopping? It's kind of like a duck flying out of the water, right? Okay, so you've got your cut on the left, you'll fold it in half, and then you just fold it down from the top, okay? And then you can just continue on from there, doing the next steps. So when you look at this, so we had this in half and then folded it down from the top, okay? So what this is going to do, when you are doing this, it creates this, the closed side is at the top in the center. So you it opens like a card. So you've got this first opening, and then you've got this middle opening that's just still hanging open. The opening is at the bottom, and then you have the back. Okay, so it kind of creates a page in the middle with kind of a pocket in it. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to start with this section first. We're going to add that tag to the top first, and then we're going to move backwards, okay? So we have the card, so just think of this as a card base. You have the card in the front. The bottom is open, so you have the fold in the top center. Barbara, you said, what weight is the white cardstock being used? We are using the deluxe flower shaping paper, which is, let me just double check, that is a 100-pound weight. So that's a great weight. If it's a little bit less or a little bit heavier, either way will work, but we're using the deluxe flower shaping paper. So to get started decorating this, we are going to create this envelope flap, and we're going to put that one on first. This flap, this one is scored at 4 3/4 inches. So if you just go ahead and you cut out the entire die piece, which again comes from the album and tag and accents, then you're just going to go ahead and fold that at the 4 3/4 inch mark from up here. Or if you want to do it from the opposite side, if you want to measure it from there, it's at the 1 inch, a little over 1 inch, like 1 1/4. So you can go ahead, after you've done that, you can glue this piece on top, and you can do this cut the exact same way that I showed you how to do those belly band flaps in the very original piece, if you want to make sure that everything lines up. Or you can always just cut an entire tag out and then just trim it off at the end if you wanted to. Totally up to you. So we're going to go ahead and just glue this piece on top, and then we're going to add glue to this inside hinge. And we're just going to wrap that around the first flap from the top, and we're just going to wrap that around the back and just kind of position that in the center. I need to move that just a little bit. There we go. Okay, so once you've done that, you're just going to lift this back up and we can start decorating the front. If you wanted to add a decorative paper in the back side of this flap, you could totally do that as well. The first flap is decorated with this beautiful house picture. Again, you could always add a photo in here, so totally up to you how you decorate that. So we are going to go ahead and find that piece along with the decorative dies. So this one, we're going to add this piece in first and just go around those edges, bring this in. How fun is that? So you could just leave it like this and then just go back and add your beautiful photo if you wanted to, or you can go ahead and add the decorative paper piece as well. I'm just trimming down this die just a little bit because it is wider, so I'm just trimming off its little tails so that it fits in very well. It's up to you if you want to glue it down first and then trim off the tails. Totally up to you. So with this, we're going to glue it on the top and the bottom of the opening, and then we'll add our photo picture on top. So you can glue this to the bottom, and then we're going to go ahead and glue one at the top as well. So tell me what you've loved so far, what you've learned, what you've been excited about learning so far. Rebecca said, was there only one paper pad used for this? Yes, there was only one paper pad used for this. And when you look at the PDF, it'll tell you like which sheet it's used from and cut from and so forth. So if you happen to make a mistake because we cut out, used both sheets that have the same pattern, if you make a mistake, there are quite a few different pieces to choose from that are similar. So you could always substitute something to just using the same measurements. So that is the inside of the front. So we're just going to go ahead and open this up and decorate the front left. And that has a beautiful circle piece to it. So with this one, it just kind of adds some special elements to it, adding that circle. So we're going to go ahead and use the card panel and just glue that down. And then this is where you could keep this image in the center if you wanted to, or you could add a, let's see, you could add a photo if you wanted to. So this is using the circle die. I'm just going to take this tape off. This was supposed to help this kind of stay together. Okay, so I cut out two circles that are the biggest one is the same size as the circle in the background. And then I cut the same size circle out of clear cardstock. I hope you can see that. We're just going to go ahead and glue these sections together. So we're going to use, I'll bring up the circle die that I used to cut this out in just a little bit. So this creates that nice window effect again. Now, if you wanted to, I would highly recommend leaving one side of this circle open so you can slide a photo in the back. Or you could always raise it up even more and kind of do a shaker element like we're going to do in the front of the album as well. So the circle die I used with this one was the eyelet circle and basic small. So that is where that circle came from. And I am just going to go ahead and glue like half of this circle and glue that to the bottom so that I have the option to add another photo and just slip it down the center that is removable. How cool is that? Juanita, you said, what die are you using now? The lacy looking one. Okay, that one, you know what? I didn't pull that. That is the Swirly Accent Spray is the one that I was using. And that is this piece. And then I was using, was that? No, hang on. That is a different, no, that's not the Swirly Accent. Now this is the piece I was using earlier for the corners. You know what? Do I have that die with me? If you scroll down, that die should be listed. If we did not list it, let me know. But it is this one. Tracy could look that up and see which die it is and pop it on. I am spacing the name on it right now. I'm so sorry about that. You could also use this die in the top as well and trim that one down too. That one would work beautifully as well. Okay, so the next step is going to create this pocket that overlaps the inside bottom piece. So what I'm talking about is there is a pocket. One of you had asked at the beginning of the class how you could make that the folios don't slide out of the main album. You could do something similar to this. So this is a pocket and it wraps around the bottom. Okay, so before we add that pocket, we are going to put our base papers in first. So to do that, just grab a paper design that you love. On this one we used, let's see, we used this one and this one. So on the front, we used this piece. So we're going to go ahead and glue that down. So again, your fold on the inside is on the top. And then you're going to flip this around. And you're going to glue the oval piece on the opposite side. Karen, you said, oh, you love that, isn't it? Yes, thank you, Linda. You said it's the Elegant Pocket Accents die. Thank you. That was very helpful. So now before we move on, I'm going to show you how to create the pocket. So this pocket is very fun to make, and you can use this concept on lots of different projects. So just cut your pocket to the size that you want to create. And this specific one was 3 inches by 4 inches. So go ahead and glue these two pieces together. So just boom, 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 you glue them together. and then they won't move for you. And then go ahead and just score this in half. So if it's 3 inches, you're going to score it at the 1.5 inch mark. I need to make sure that I keep following the line and don't move off kilter. Actually, I'm just going to let that dry a little bit. I don't want that paper to move on me, so I'm just going to let that dry a little bit, and then we will come back to that, okay? So we're going to go ahead and glue the panels on the back 2 pieces to finish this off, and then we'll come back to that. So we're going to go ahead and glue this oval and the inside of the right hand, and then we'll close that and put that oval on the back. Linda, you said free dye time. Yes. For those of you that missed out and just hopped on, what I was talking about earlier is, as a thank you for taking the class, you qualify for a free dye with a $100 purchase. You just enter code 808724, and that expires on May 9th. So if you see some dyes that we're demoing today and you're like, oh my gosh, I don't have that yet, this is a great time to get those before they're gone. So I'm just going to kind of push this one way and then the other way. There we go. Okay. So if you have a little white line on the top, you could always trim that down a little bit. Now this is where you can then use this die to cut this little tab in. Do you see that? Now this one, do you see how that this one has a little bit of a white edge. So you could keep the white edge or you can pull it up. But now your next step, once you've folded that in half, is you will just lay your die right on top, and you'll run that through your machine, and that will cut that little tab out. How cool is that? Isn't that amazing? So that is how you can create custom little pockets on your cards, different projects, and whatever you need. So once that tab is cut in, you'll go ahead, and this piece isn't glued yet, so I'll just glue this down, but I would highly recommend gluing the paper before you cut in the notch. That will make that things are not moving around and you don't have to line it back up again. Now, to add this pocket, all you need to do is just add some glue on the straight edges on each side, and you are going to go ahead and wrap that around the bottom center of this folio. Isn't that amazing? How quick and easy was that pocket? I just think that comes together so beautiful. It's so quick and easy. So while that pocket is drying, we're just going to close this up. I'm just going to put it underneath my score pal to hold that in place a little bit. And then we're going to look at the belly band and the tags. So you have 2 tags. These are, again, the tags from the Tickets and Tags die set using these 2. The largest one gets cut out of the white cardstock, and then the other one gets cut out with the beautiful decorative tabs. Candy, you said the pretty paper makes it hard to cut. I know, right? I always say it's great to get one pad that you can just look at and have some fun just getting inspiration from, and then the other paper pad is to actually cut up and make some beautiful projects with, right? But I know it can be so hard. So you'll just glue these on top of each other, and then you can go ahead. Oops, this one moved a little bit. Let me just reposition this. I swear, sometimes I think my stuff moves on me when I'm not looking. Does it ever happen to you? So you can put these tags on top of each other, and if you have a really strong punch like the crocodile, you can go ahead and just punch that all at once. Totally up to you. So those tags are made, and then if you want to go ahead and create your especially for you tag, I think, let's see here. Here's the strip. You can always back this up with a paper cardstock to make it stronger if you want. Mine is not quite as long, but you could do a 12-inch strip with just a little bit of a white border. And this is going to be the belly band around that folio. So this is the especially for you folio. So you can go ahead and just back this up with cardstock so it's a little bit stronger. And then right in the front, we want to have that, let's see here. You can see how this, especially for you, is like front and center, and we trimmed off that die a little bit again. So we're going to go ahead and do that first. So you have this beautiful piece. Okay. Shirley, you said when you buy the bundles, you usually order an extra paper pad. You are so smart. We actually have quite a few of our crafters that do that. They know themselves very well, and they're like, okay, I know that it's going to be hard for me to cut into this, so they do that. So good job, Shirley. Now, when you do this belly band, I would kind of use, like, here is a bend, so I'm just going to do a little fold here. But I would give it extra cushion so that it goes on and off really easily. I oftentimes make it a little bit too tight, and then I have a hard time moving it up and down. So give it a little bit of grace and a little bit of cushion. So I'm going to glue this together. So we're just going to go ahead. Actually, you know what? Let's see. We're just going to glue it from this direction. Doesn't really matter. I just want to see another, especially for you on the back. So just go ahead, and I want to make sure that this is not too tight. So I always go back and I test it. No, that slides on very nicely. So there you've got that beautiful, especially for you. We're going to open this back up again. You could have this especially for you in the front, totally up to you. But then you can go ahead and you can slip those tags in the center there. And you have that beautiful folio all done. You could have this on this side as well. So you can choose which side you have turned up. How pretty is that? So you really get to pick and choose which side you want to have that. So that is the folios. And then the next piece we're going to create is for the center of the album. And I'm going to give you a glimpse of the finished one. Let me put this belly band on as well. This is from the actually finished album. So this one's a little bit tighter, and sometimes it wants to catch a little bit. So there we go. So for the finished album in the center, you're going to create a little box that holds a little gift box, or what I would call a photo box. So we're going to create this piece first. So you can kind of see, let's bring that in so you can kind of see the inside there. So we're going to create that piece first. And then we're going to create this decorative box piece. The very end, we're going to show you this, how to do coloring, how to do the beautiful hydrangeas, and all the fun ways to glam it up. Does that sound like a plan? Okay, so to get started creating this box, Darlene, you said you love the folios. You want to make 9 for each member of my Bible study. What a great idea. I love that. That's awesome. You said you haven't been able to meet because of COVID-19. So this piece right here is called the top box. So if you want to pull out your pieces, I know some of you said you pre-cut everything, so kudos to you for doing that. But I know some of you, you haven't done that yet, so everything is from scratch, and you'll rewatch it and do it with me later. So with this, you are going to create the box space, and we're going to do that together. So this one is a 7 3/4 inch paper by 3 inches, and you are going to do a 1 inch score on each side. So we're going to do 1 inch here, and you're going to do a 1/2 inch from the edge. So 1 inch and a 1/2 inch from every edge, okay? So you'll do a 1/2 inch along the length. So this creates your box space. So this is a really fun and easy way to make a beautiful box space, and you could really use this concept on a lot of different projects depending on what you're looking for. So you will do 3 sides at 1/2 inch and 1 inch, okay? Can you kind of see those score lines? Before you fold it, I would highly recommend just taking this piece of paper that will fit beautifully on the inside and just gluing that down, because that is where we are going to create a cut using that tag die again. How many beautiful different ways can we use the tag die, right? So we're going to go ahead and just position this in the center, and you can adjust how far you want that tag die to dip in. So I just you could measure this too, so you have it symmetrical from both sides, but you can go ahead and tape that, and that creates kind of like that envelope flap feeling, okay? How cool is that? Do you like that? Cynthia, you said, hi, I guess I'm late. You thought it started at 11 o'clock. Good thing I can watch. Yes, you can rewatch. I am so sorry that you are late, but yes, once the class is over, we add this to your account so you can rewatch it as many times as you like. Uh-oh, I saw that my tape slipped, so I was looking at the monitor. So just make sure that everything is secured well, and then you can run this through and cut this out with your die. And I just wanted to show you how that looks when that comes out. And you said you are sad that you lose some of the beautiful. I know that's hard to do. And if you want to cut that pattern piece from a different section, you could totally do that. Because honestly, it is more of a background piece, and we are gluing some stamped images on top. So if you have a neutral background elsewhere in your paper pad that you haven't used it yet, go for that, and you don't have to cut into those little birdies, because I know that is tough to do. So with this, you have that beautiful flap all cut out. Now this is a little bit deeper. Here we go. That is a little bit deeper, so you can kind of adjust your depth. Once you have that all glued down, you can go ahead and fold the inside score lines to create your box. And I'll just do that all the way around. So you have the inside piece, and then we'll go ahead and do the outer score lines as well. Now we are going to snip away some pieces. So let's go ahead. Okay, so the pieces that you're going to snip away are at the corners. So you're going to snip away the outer edge all the way up to the 1 inch from the bottom, and then a 1/2 inch from the side, okay? And then you are also going to snip in from this side. So you have like a tab right in here, okay? So again, so this is at the 1 inch, you'll just go straight up, and then you'll at the 1/2 inch mark go straight up, and then you'll just cut 1/2 inch in, okay? So you might want to rewatch that a couple times. Let's see, Anna Louisa, you said what electric die cutting machine do you use? I am using the Cut and Boss. I also have the Vagabond. Those two are great machines, but I'm sure some of you on here have different machines too that you like to use. So we're just going to tab this in like a box. How you fold this together is really kind of up to you. It doesn't really matter. I just like to make sure that however I do choose to fold it, that those corners are coming together really well. So I will add some glue to the back of this tab and a little bit to the back of this tab. We'll bring that in, fold that together. And if you're using a liquid glue, oops, there we go. If you're using a liquid glue, you might want to just hold it for a little bit. One of you asked how far down did you go on the tab? Okay, let me measure that. I used the eyeballing technique on this, but I practically went down about 1.5 inches. That's a little bit on the deep side. You could do 1 to 1.5 inches. So it's up to you, but I did 1.5 inches on this one. If you go down too far, you'll see that there isn't much of a lip here. So you might want to do more like 1.25 to 1 inch on yours. So, and if you do it at 1 inch and it's not down far enough, you can run it through again and get it down a little bit further. So once you cut it off too much, you can't redo it, but you can always do a little bit at a time. So we're just going to go ahead and tab that. Now this is where we're going to bring the main album base in, and we're going to glue this down right away. So you have that beautiful box. This is how it looks in the back. So you have 3 edges that are going to be glued down directly to your actual album base. So we're going to bring the album base in again, and that's going to get glued down in the center on the inside. So go ahead and add some glue and just make sure that this is all glued down very well, because we want it to be really super sturdy. If you have some clips you wanted to use for this part, you can. This is where I am going to just lay this aside again and put a little, just wait a little bit for this to dry while we do the center box, okay? Tracy, you said that looks so pretty. I love how the die cut out the center. I know, right? Isn't that just so pretty? I love how that works. So this is the piece that goes into the center, and it's a really fun way to create just a quick like kind of shadow box type of look. So with this one, we're going to pull out the pieces. We're going to add the decorative pieces to the box we just did a little bit later. So let's grab the pieces for the gift box. So this one is labeled your gift box pieces, and the base for this is pretty simple. but I find that sometimes it can be look intimidating when it's actually a pretty simple process once you know the concept. So you're going to have a card base. Let me just measure this base real quick. Of 6 inches, I believe it's 6 inches by 6 inches, yes. And then you'll score it all the way around each side at the 1/2 inch mark. So that will create the beautiful kind of box look. So you have a 6 by 6 and it has a 1/2 inch score line around each side. Okay, so now for this one, you can go ahead and cut a slit in to kind of create that tab so it overlaps just to the 1/2 inch mark. Just one slit, doesn't really matter which side you do. You just want to have it one slit on each corner. And then this will allow you to bring this box up and you have a little tab. So if you would do a 1 inch flap on the side, you just have a thicker box. So if you are doing this for a different project and you want a little thicker box, you could always do an inch, 3/4 inch. You can really customize the size of that based on what you want to do. So just glue those flaps together. We'll just add a little bit of glue on the inside. Just use those little tabs that you cut into, and that starts to create your box. I do like to make sure that my corners are squared off so that that sits well once we go to glue it in. Does that make sense? Donna, you said you inspire me to craft, and as a woman, thanks Emmylou and all the staff at Heartfelt Creations. You are so welcome. Thanks for joining us today, Donna. We're so glad you're with us. Karen, you said you have to feed the calves, but have pre-cut and looking forward. I'm so glad you got to join us today, Karen. I know you have a busy life on the farm. It's so good that you were able to join us for a little bit, and we will see you back once you can rewatch this again. So with this, we have this little box. I have that all squared away. Just make sure that those flaps don't open back up. And again, you could always use the alligator clips, or if you wanted to use your decorative strip of paper around the edge right away, you can. I just use this on 3 sides. If you wanted to add that right away, you could. And that just goes all the way around the edges. Now, this should be a, let's see, this strip, I lost my one strip. So you should have you should have at least you should have 18 inches of a strip. So if you have a 12-inch strip and a 6-inch strip, you'll be able to cover this. Today I only have 12 inches. So just make sure that you have at least a total of, did I say 16? 18 inches is what you want to cover the entire side. So I'm just going to do mine partially and finish that off then. The one side goes against the spine so you don't see it, so you don't have to worry about doing that. But that just kind of creates that covered piece look. So we're just going to leave that, but you'll want to cover 3 sides along the edge. It's just a tad, the width is a tad shorter than 1/2 inch, so you have a little bit of a white lip. Barbara, you said, can we use the die code with the 20% off paper pads, or do we need to choose one or the other? I believe the 20% off paper pad savings that we have right now is an automatic code, I believe. I might be wrong. Tracy can pop in and double check that for you, and she'll be on to tell you. But I think that, Angie, you said you just placed an order. How can I get the die? If you placed the order and you didn't get the die, you forgot to add the code, just call customer care and they can add that for you. And just tell them that you're wanting to use code 808724 from the online class today, and they can add that for you. So with this, we're going to go ahead and add the decorative paper in the center. It's a 4 3/4 by 4 3/4 size, and it is a beautiful kind of dark blue pattern paper. You can choose to use whichever design you want to, and that creates that beautiful box. So we're just going to set that aside and create the base. The base is a very, very simple way to create, but this one is cut at it's 10.5 inches long, and then it is scored from the left. It is scored at 5 inches and 5.5 inches, and that creates that spine in the middle. So we have a 1/2 inch spine, so that kind of creates that width as well. So we're going to go ahead and add these pieces. I had these pieces taped together, so I'm just going to pull this tape apart. Sometimes this tape, it's like a removable tape, but it sticks like crazy sometimes if it's been there for a while. Yes, thank you, Tracy, for adding that. Yes, Jan, you are correct. If you increase the box in the middle, you would need to increase the spine. So if you would increase this to 1 inch, you would want to have the spine at 1 inch as well. So whatever the width is of this is the width you want on the spine on the inside. So just want to make sure that you keep those at the same width. So let's see, I need to add some ribbon. So we don't want to glue anything down without adding ribbon on this one. So if you want this to tie shut, grab some ribbon of your choice, and you'll want to glue some ribbon. It doesn't really matter if you do it on the inside or the outside, but you want to add some ribbon to this before you add the decorative paper. So I'm going to go ahead and just glue some ribbon down on the inside, on both sides, the right and the left, and that's what we're going to use as a closure. That ribbon just fell off again. Oh well, it's okay. We'll just pop it back in once we add the decorative piece of paper. We just want to make sure that we glue that in. We're going to add these stripes on top, and that will just hinge our ribbon in. So just make sure that you add some sort of closure. If you wanted to do a magnetic closure, you could always do that as well. Just making sure that your magnets line up in there. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I need to pull off my tape on this one as well. Cynthia, does anyone else like to use red tape to build boxes? Yes, the red tape is a really nice sticky tape. So if you love using that, you can. I find myself getting impatient pulling off all the red tape stickers. So that's why I typically use the dry as clear glue. But on the flip side, the dry as clear glue, you have to allow a little bit of time to dry. So it just depends on what works best for you. So you've got this inside covered, and we're just going to flip it around, and we're going to do the outside. Now just remember, your outside front is going to be on your right and the back is going to be on the left. So for your front, you're going to add this piece on the right hand side. So we're going to go ahead and glue that down first. Rachel, you asked if the magnetic strips would go in the same place as the ribbon. Yes. Yes, you'd want to just put the magnetic strips in the same place as the ribbon. So you could totally do that if you wanted to. With this, you can go ahead and just add this to the left, and that will decorate that piece very beautifully. And if you wanted to add a decorative strip down the back of the spine, that's just a tad smaller than 1/2 inch, and then your width of your white cardstock. So you're going to go ahead and flip this back to the end, inside again, glue this box down, and you are going to have the side that you did not cover on the left. So we're going to add some glue to the spine, and then we're going to add some glue to the back of this box. So that will make sure that that box is just bumped up to the edge of, just make sure that it's not hanging over the score line, and then you'll just bring that up and you can close that. And I really just like to just close that pretty quickly and then just tie the ribbon shut so that that has some time to dry. And if you're doing the red tape, that you don't have to really worry about that moving around. So I'm just going to knot that, but you could add a ribbon into it later so that you can easily open that. But I'm just going to knot it right now so that it has some time to dry. And then you can add that strip on the spine if you want, and that will just go right into the center. Let me just bring this up. Oops. That will just go right in the center here. So now your next step is going to be adding all the fun elements to your album. So I'm going to put this one aside, and I'm going to bring out one that is all dry, that has all those pieces together, and is one that I don't have to worry about things moving around. So we're going to take a look at some of the colored images, and we're going to do some coloring next, and then we'll go into layering the hydrangea. How does that sound? Tell me, what have you loved so far and what have you learned? So for the coloring, we are using the Zig markers. If you have a marker that you like to color with and that you're experienced with, I highly recommend sticking to that type of marker. Let's face it, coloring with markers takes some time to learn how to blend, how to learn the skill of that. So if you have a marker you love, stick with that. But today I'm using the Zig markers. So I'm going to pull those out. Just going to close this album up that we just did. I'm going to lay this one aside and pull out our elements to color. So for the coloring, has this been helpful so far? Just doing the structure and the base of the album. I love how quickly that comes together when you have all those pieces colored. Now I know that the rate that I was doing it was a little bit quicker because I had all the pieces lined up and knew exactly where it was going to get glued. So I highly recommend just cutting along with the PDF and separating those pieces out according to what it says on there, and then you can follow along very easily. So let's take a close-up look at how some of these images are colored. Now when you do these embellishments, you can color them in whatever colors you prefer, but you'll see we have the beautiful window, we have some hydrangea pieces on the inside, and then on the outside we have the beautiful hydrangea that with the dimensional flowers. So I'm going to share some of my tips to creating and coloring with the more intricate designs of the window and the birds and the little hydrangea clusters. So before we get started doing that, I wanted to share something that some of you may or may not know. But when you are doing embellishments and elements for an album and you want it to be pretty stiff because you know that it's going to get a lot of wear and tear, you can always do this stamped and die cut image, and then you can always cut one out of just plain cardstock, and you can glue those together so it's more of a stiff embellishment type so it doesn't get as much wear and tear. So that's what I'm doing here, is just gluing those two pieces together, and that really makes sure that those little swirls are stiff and it sticks very well. Same way with the window. You can do that as well, and you can do that with the little hydrangea strip that goes on top of the window. So totally up to you how you do that. Now coloring with these, do you ladies want to see some pretty intricate ways to color, or is that something that you have an interest in there? Janet, you said you have made a beautiful project. I enjoy these classes. Thank you so much, Janet. Susan, you said you're going to make this album. Jolyn, you said, I like how this isn't like all the other mini albums out there. I've taken many classes on mini albums and like how each part of the book is like a surprise. Yes, that's the fun about mini albums. You open it up and you're like, oh my gosh, look at this. There's so many different elements and ways that you can use. And a lot of those techniques, if you just kind of like pick them apart, you can use them for cards as well, the different ways we use the tag die and all that fun stuff. So Chris, you said coloring is one of your favorite parts of crafting. It's so much fun. In fact, my little guy is 5 months old, and I was coloring some of these images at home, and he was helping me when he was awake. I say helping, he had a marker in his hand. He was kind of distracting. So I, as a mommy, was holding him in one hand and coloring the other. So hey, if I can color with a baby in my hands, I'm sure that you will master coloring as well, right? So I have a couple different colors. As I pull them out, I'll tell you which color I'm using. I am using from the Zig Clean Color Markers. We've listed all the supplies right underneath this screen, so if you don't have some of these, this is the 36 color set. I find that this is a great basic set if you don't have markers, and it has a lot of beautiful colors. Plus, I'm using the Color In marker, which is a watercolor blending brush. That is a great key in making these colors come out very beautiful. So when I'm coloring these, let's just bring up, say, this hydrangea spray and these little birds. I am going to start out with, let's see, we'll start out with these three. And none of my coloring looks the same ever. I have different ways that they turn out. I'm actually going to bring up some of the pieces that I have colored so that you can kind of see those next to what I am coloring. So these are the little birds that I have colored or pre-colored. And here's a little hydrangea spray. So we are going to do some coloring, and then we'll go into the hydrangeas. I won't color everything, but I just want you to learn the basic techniques of how you can get started. So I am using the, let's see, this is the violet. And we are going to just add, I always like to make sure I don't have too much on my watercolor. So I'm just going to add a little bit of the violet color directly to that violet. And we're just going to color that out with the watercolor. Do you see how that went from dark to light real fast? So we'll just do that on each one. So I always think coloring is a little bit hard to capture on camera. But we'll do our best to, can you see that okay? I'll just pull that up a little bit. There we go. So you can do that real quick. You can do some watercolor off the tip of the pen. You can also do direct to paper and just blend it out. If you do that, you'll have a little bit more of a blended effect in the one area will look darker and kind of fade to light. So that is how I do those beautiful hydrangeas in the background. If you want to add a little bit of a different color purple, I use the light violet, and I just went back in and I just did spots of that color in there, and then just blended it out very lightly. And if you are a girl that loves a lot of color variations, you could go in with a little bit of the blue as well. So you see how beautiful that just turns out very quickly. If you want to add a little bit of blue, and instead of that light violet, this is the Persian blue. And I'm going to show you how you can add the blue. So you could just add some little dots of blue in there. You can brush it off on your marker, kind of go back in there, and you have like more of a blue color. So it's a bluish purple. I have a lot of blue on there, so I'll just brush it off a little bit. So you can get some different color variations just based on the different styles that you bring together. I'm just going to hold that there a little bit so we can get a close-up on that. Shanta, you said, are you using watercolor paper or flower shaping paper? I am using the flower shaping paper. If you have a watercolor paper, you could also try that, see how that works for you. Maureen, you said, could we also get matching zig colors for each collection? You know, for the collections, the zig markers, the 36 pack is what I use for most of my collections. So if there's a purplish, I'll go into the purple blue section and kind of get from those. So with this for the leaves, and any of the leaves that I color with markers, I actually started with a yellow base. Isn't that crazy? So this kind of is a little bit freakish. I did yellow on the birds, and this marker is called yellow. So it's actually called yellow. Oftentimes they have fun, you know, different names. But the leaves, I just did a bright yellow, and it looks super crazy at the moment. It kind of makes you want to, your inner artist kind of wants to freak out a little bit. But then I went in and, actually, you know what? You can add a little bit of the green in there. You see how that, these are if you like the bright, vivid colors. Oops, I don't want to use my yellow to blend. I want to use my watercolor to blend. I get myself in trouble when I'm excited about coloring and forget what color I have on my marker sometimes. So you can kind of blend that out over, and you can go back in, you can add more green, and you can really, if there's too much, the water kind of moves it around, but you can just have some fun with that. But that's how I color that, those leaves. Okay, I'm going to hold this up a little bit more, and we're going to color one more leaf. So just add some green and then just go over it with the watercolor. I sometimes tap the water off a little bit if there's too much water on there. And you've got your leaf colored. How pretty is that? For the belly of the birds, you can kind of mess around with that a little bit. I used, for the birds' heads, I used, and the mane of the body part, I used the Persian blue. But I didn't do much direct to paper with this. I did more just going off with my marker and going on to the birds. And over the head, I went very light. I'm always scared that I'll make them look like their brains are twisted up. So I go very light to begin with. And then I did just a little bit of direct to paper with this one, and then just kind of streak that out. And you can do a little bit more. And then if you want to tone that yellow down, you can take a little bit of the blue and just go over that belly and just kind of tone that yellow down a little bit. So that's just kind of a fast, quick way to color that. And I find that turns out really pretty. You can put some dots on their head, and you can always, I always like to go light, and you can always add more, but it's harder to take too much off. So that is the way that I color the birds. You can always go back and add more if you like really vibrant birds. So you can see the more that I do direct to paper, the darker that gets. So you can stop at any point. And if you're kind of a new colorist, you can always just do little by little. And you can also just practice, practice, practice. Maureen, you said absolutely beautiful coloring. Thank you for demonstrating. You are so welcome. And Janet, you said you would not have thought to color the leaves with yellow. I know, right? That's kind of freakish. I mean, when you put that bright yellow down, but if you like the rich yellowish green spring tone, that is a great undertone base for that. So that is how I color the birds and the little hydrangeas and the leaves. And then I'm going to go into coloring with a window just a little bit because that had a couple different tones. And I'm just going to make sure that my watercolor marker is clear. And this one, I did, here you can kind of see how that one, put the ones that I colored out here. So this one has more of the flesh tones. So for that one, I picked out the color Flesh. It's actually called Flesh Color. I used brown. I used a little bit of the green gray, and you could also use a little bit of the mid gray if you wanted to. So we're going to start out with these colors, and you'll see that some areas have a little bit more flesh tone, so we'll kind of just do a little bit of the one side and one side of the doorway. So you can give that flesh color just all the way across it, so it gives it kind of that cream undertone. And then you can go in and you can just start adding as much or as little accent colors as you want. I just started by just adding a little bit on the shaded areas. One thing that's great to know about our stamps is the areas that are a little bit shaded with the stamp image is where you want to add your darker tones. So that really shows you where to put your lights and your shadows when you're coloring. So that is how I do, and I sometimes just go back and tap off a little bit with my finger. And that doesn't have a super lot of texture and dimension yet, so you can just go back and add more color and more depth. If you want to, you can blend it out, or you could just kind of let it stay hanging there if you wanted to not blend it out as much. So you can really choose how much or as little bit. I feel like this color's pretty quickly. For the green, for the leaves, I use the color called May Green. So that is the color that I used for that. The direction, sorry, what stamp? Yes, archival ink jet black is great for this, or an ink that it just dries really fast, and that is great with markers is fine, but the archival jet black is perfect. The memento black would be great as well, the tuxedo black. So either one of those works great. If you want to color the edges of this, you can use the, some of the wood areas are just a little bit different tones. So you could go back, you could add a little bit of color with, this one is the green gray. So you have different types of grays in there. You can kind of add a little bit more color in this section. Isn't that fun? I just love how that kind of comes to life when you add those extra colors in there. That is how we colored this. If you wanted to add a little bit of a different tone in the center, you could use the mid gray and just really, that is a darker gray. So you can just add some stripes in there and just start blending that out. And if you're scared to do that much at once, you can always do a little bit and then go back and do more. So you can just kind of play around with that. But that is how we colored the window. If you wanted to tone this down a little bit, that is a little bit of a darker gray, you could always use a little bit of the color called mid gray and kind of tone that down. So you can kind of play around with that. So you can really get carried away with colors. Linda, you said you love this window with a French cottage door. Yes, that's a great one to use in combination with each other, so you have some different collections that you can color combo together. So I am going to put these colors away, and then we're going to switch into creating the hydrangeas and decorating that front cover, okay? So as we do that, I'm going to lay this aside. As we transition, I'll need to remove some items and bring some items up. So why don't we have you look at the cover of this album and kind of study that while I do that. So we'll just zoom in on this album. Let's see, here we go. How many of you have created the hydrangea? If you have created the hydrangea, let me know. If you haven't, this is your first time, you are in for a treat. I absolutely love how this one turns out. So let's just bring this to the side. I'm gonna grab a drink of water, and we will get started with that. So with this, the hydrangeas, I have a couple colors of inks that I use to color these, which the inks that you choose is totally up to you. But I like to use a combination of colors. Now on the list, we also listed rose madder. That is totally up to you. You can do it with just cactus flower and manganese blue, and then 2 different leaf greens. So, or leaf green and fern green. So 2 different greens is what I meant to say there. So let me grab my ones that are not colored yet, so we can show you those. I'm going to color one of these guys and a couple of the flowers so you can see how those are done. How does that sound? Okay, so we're going to color this piece first. So you can multicolor stamp that one in the purple. Some of the colors kind of blend if you stamp them together, but if you use the cactus flower and the manganese blue, and you can even use some green to color with it if you want. So just go into your manganese blue and just do a light coloring just all over the area that you want to add a little bit of the blue. And then you can switch to cactus flower and just give that some beautiful pop of colors. Now this is going to be more in the background, so I don't spend a super lot of time on this part, but it does add kind of a nice, fun way to add those together and just add that variation of color. So the leaves I color with the leaf green as the base as well. Excuse me. And I'll just do that kind of as a quick coloring technique. Now, if you want to add a bunch of shading like you see in this is wrapped with some ribbon. If you want to add that shading, all you need to do is grab your fern green and just add a little bit more of that dark green into the tips. And you have those leaves colored very beautifully, very quickly. Okay, and then if you want to add kind of that a bit of the darkish tint to it, it's totally up to you. Some people love that, others are not as fond of it. You can go back of your cactus flower and just add a little bit of that tint of kind of like that pinkish color into those leaves if you prefer. So totally up to you if you wanted to add that. Now the hydrangeas, we told you to cut out quite a few different ones. Now you'll notice that the bulk of these are colored in the manganese blue and in the cactus flower. You could also mix some rose madder color if you want a little bit lighter touch in there. But the bulk of them were done with manganese blue, and so you can just color some of them. Now we told you to cut out a lot more than you actually need for the flower, so that just gives you some extra pieces. So if you want to go ahead and color about half of them in the cactus flower and half of them in the manganese blue, or a combination of both, you can do that. So they will just turn out based on how much ink you apply, how dark you make them. You can do light and dark, and you can do combinations of both colors together. If you do both colors together, you'll take the manganese blue, and then you will do the other half with the cactus flower, and you will get kind of that, it kind of turns purple in the middle, and it gives you kind of an altered look. You will want to color each of these on the back as well. So just make sure that you do that. So once you have them colored, you're ready to shape these. Now, if you're the girl that likes to do your hydrangeas quickly and easily, I would highly recommend using the flower shaping mold if you have that one. That is a great tool to shape all the flowers very quickly. But if you want to add a little bit more texture and dimension after you have used the flower shaping mold, today I'm just doing it from scratch, just using the stylus tool, so you can see how that works if you wanted to go that route. And you can use the 3mm or 4mm tip on with your stylus, totally up to you. I am going to use the 4mm because that's just a little bit bigger, and I have just a little bit more control over my stylus because I don't want the flower to get too smushed. So we're going to spray the backs. I'm just going to do one of them, so you can do that technique on all of them then. So once you have that done, all you're going to do, I like to do a double mat so I have more cushion. You're just going to press down on each petal. Just press down quite hard. The harder you press, the more dimension you are going to get. And then flip it right side up, and you are going to use, I use the paper piercer, You can, actually we'll just use this one today because that's what I have right here and handy to me. And that just presses the middle down. And then you can go ahead and add a flower stamen down the center. I used from the bridal bouquet small, and I used this piece. And I just took one section and I just stuck it down the center of each of those flowers. Used my hot glue gun. Oh, my hot glue gun has been patiently waiting. Oops, here we go. I used my hot glue gun and just put a little bit of glue at the base of this. And then we'll just pull this up, and you can do this to each one of the flowers. Now, I would highly recommend doing at least, let's say 24 of these. You will use more or less depending on how you layer these together. So I would always rather have more than not enough. So I would say 24 to 30, and then you have plenty that you can play along with. And I would do some of every size, or each size, so that you have a mixture and a variation to put together. So we're going to get started decorating the front cover. Before we do that, we'll just add those embellishments on the inside that are completely covered. So on the inside, the birds that are colored, those go right in here. So you will just kind of glue the outer section since we have that envelope flap in there. So you can go ahead and glue them on the top. And then the window, you can add in the top as well of this center box. So actually, let's bring this down just a little bit. And then you have room to grace that hydrangea over the top. If you don't have these stamps and dies yet, we have them listed right underneath this screen so you can easily see which stamps and dies that we're using in the class today. So that is where those pieces go. And then we're going to go ahead and just close this up and decorate the front. So to decorate the front, you are going to cut out 2 pieces of the Courtyard Elegance die, and you will cut them out with the circle opening, okay? So once you have those cut out, you'll glue them together, and we're going to go ahead and color those 2 pieces. So I'm going to show you how that is done. When you color that, I did a combination of the purple and the blue, and when you kind of color those together, let me get my scrap piece of paper. When you color those together, it kind of creates a variation of color in the center. And if you glue 2 of them together, it just makes it thicker. However, that is your choice if you wanted to do that. So you can just go ahead and just color that die, and you'll do as much or as little of the color that you prefer to use. I got green out. I wanted to use the Magnes blue. And so if you overlap this color, it will kind of create a purple color in the center. So you can overlap as much or as little as you want. And you'll just do that all the way around the outer edges of that die. And that will create this type of look here. So you can really have some fun customizing that color to what you like to create. So that is the piece that gets glued down next. So we're going to go ahead and glue that on top of our album base. Isn't it fun how that comes out and it comes out all together? Okay, so Gail, you said if you use the mold, you put them in upside down. So if you put them in upside down, those petals will be cut back like I just did. So you can do them that way. And sometimes for other projects, you might want to do them the reverse. Juanita, you said when you're coloring flowers, you use a sheet of paper for all the pink shades and one for all the shades of green, so on and so forth. Makes perfect shading colors. Yes, so if you wanted to stamp on colored cardstock, you could do that as well. Linda, you said, would we be able to order one of the special dies, i.e. the new circle or Bible? Yes, for the special that we have today, you can order any die that you want. You just add the code in, add your die of your choice along with $100 of product into your cart, add the code, and that will give you a free die, so you can get any die of your choice for that. Kathy, you said, does the Courtyard Elegance fit in a regular size Big Shot? Yes, it does. It will work through yours. I have the Vagabond that is the same width, and I use mine in through there all the time, and you've got some great strength versus big machines. Sometimes you get kind of lost in that. So we're going to go ahead and glue this down, and I'll just add some glue to the outside edges. So we have this beautiful piece all ready to decorate. And I love how this circle just comes together beautifully in the center with a Courtyard Elegance using the Luxe Gold cardstock. Now we glued a white and a gold piece together to make this just a little bit stronger. So you can go ahead and just glue this down in the center, and that will start the base for this middle piece. Now, the next section is what I call a shaker piece, but it is done a little bit different, and it is a really fun way. Oops, you know what? I need to add some glue along the outer edges because the center is a little bit further down, so it doesn't want to stick as well in the center. Okay, there we go. There we go. I was singing earlier, and I told the team that's filming, I said if I sing while I'm doing the class, you might know why. I sing quite a bit to my little guy, but I won't sing in class today because that's not what I specialize in. You don't want to hear me sing. Okay, so for this, our next step will be, oops, I had some of my ribbon fall down. Our next step will be to add these little tags on the front and the back, and I'm just going to glue these in so we don't forget them. These little tags, you will use the Tickets and Tags die, and we have it listed on your PDF, but you will have 2 pieces of white cardstock glued together and then decorated front and back with a hole punched in the center, and that is going to be an accent piece that goes right in here, so that you have the ability to tie this shut with a ribbon. So let's go ahead and add that in. You'll want to make sure that this is glued down very, very well. So I am going to go ahead and add that in the front. And then when you look at this on the back, we're going to go ahead and add that as well right away. So that can just kind of rest there and start to be glued in place. I need to punch a hole in this yet. So you'll want to do the hole before you add it down. So you'll see a piece that, and you can have this as long or as short as you want. It really doesn't matter. I can measure this for you just so that you have the measurements. Let's do that. This length is about 2 1/4 inches in length with a white cardstock. And it's okay if this extends a little bit with white because that will get covered. So we have that front piece done, and now to create the shaker, you're going to cut your circle with the eyelet and your fancy piece of cardstock. You're going to glue that down, and that will be the base of your shaker, okay? So some of you may have done a shaker in this style before, and some of you might not have, but I find that this comes together so beautifully, so quickly. Rachel, you said if you don't want to use the ribbon, where would the magnetic placement go? If you don't want to use a ribbon, you could always put a magnet in on the left side in here before you put the paper down, and you could put the magnet in on the right side on the inside flap. So you'd want to put a magnet in here and in here. So that is where you'd want to put your magnet if you don't want to use the ribbon closure. So that's totally up to you. So we have this piece. Now, if you are used to doing dimensional shakers, you probably have done the traditional shaker where you just use foam around a circle piece. Today we're going to do something different. You can cut out a bunch of circles with cardstock and make it as thick as you want. This one has actually your PDF, I forget how many, but your PDF will tell you how many circles to cut out, but you can make it thicker or thinner based on your preference. Once you have those circles glued together, when you come to do the last one, just add a clear piece of cardstock circle that's the same size. And what I love about this is since you're doing a shaped circle, it makes that there is nothing that will come out the sides, and it makes that everything is closed very well. So you have that window piece, and then you're going to be able to add another circle on top, and that is ready for your shaker piece. So it's just such a fun, quick and easy way to create a shaker element with a little bit of dimension. So you can really adjust that dimension by how many circles you put on top of each other, and we have listed that in the PDF if you're wondering how many circles, because I glued some of mine together so they would be dry all together, and I forgot the number of that. Jan, you said, love the ruler you use. What is the brand and do you sell? You know what? I don't sell this ruler. Oh my goodness. It says Westcott. Thank God for a brand on there. It says it's a Westcott ruler. I love these rulers. I do find that the print can wear off pretty quickly, but I think they're pretty cheap. So if that happens, I just get a new one. I am using, you could use whatever shaker you want in the middle, but I'm using a crystal clear. And I'm just going to dump just a little bit in the middle. I'm not going to do a lot. So I will just dump the amount that I want into the center. You could do little beads and fun things like that and get a little bit creative if you wanted. But then on the inside, you'll just go ahead and add your glue, so you're not dealing with foam pieces that are not circular, trying to make sure that everything matches up and doesn't come out the side. And then you can just go ahead, layer that on top, and you have your beautiful shaker. How quick was that? Isn't that beautiful? Love, love that. Janet, you said you found one at Walmart. Yes, that is a great place to get those. We get one from our Sewing in Notions place, so that is great. Rachel, you said, thank you for showing where the magnetic placements go. You are so welcome, friend. Okay, so I just want to check, make sure I'm not missing any of your your questions. Okay, so we are going to go ahead and we are ready to glue down the hydrangea pieces. Now, yours might be at a little bit of a different spot than mine. You can again back these up with white cardstock if you wanted to. If you want to use a 3D dot to add the second layer on, you can. And if you wanted to add a little bit of dimension to the leaves, you could with your stylus. But I am going to go ahead and just glue this first one just down directly. And we're just going to kind of do it off to the side just a little bit. It's pretty much lined up with the bird's belly on the right. So we're just going to go ahead and glue that on. Isn't that just pretty, just like that? But, so you can always stop anywhere you like, but you can always just continue adding as many flowers or embellishments as you want. So if you just joined more towards the last half of the class, this class will be added to your account so you can rewatch it as many times as you want. And we have a special savings as a thank you for taking the class today, where you get a free die with a $100 purchase when you enter code 808724 into your cart when you check out. So once you have that, you're ready to add all your little flowers. I have mine done, and in this cap. On this specific one, you'll see that the blue ones are kind of on the bottom right-hand side, and then the top has more of the pink ones, and then there's a couple ones tucked down in here. How many you use will really be based on your placement and how tight you put them together. But one thing I find that really helps very well is taking a little tweezers, not a paper piercer, and just hold this with your paper piercer and your hot glue gun, and just start at one side and just start putting them together. I am not really worrying what size I'm using right now, and I am just not really paying attention to that, because if you just put different sizes in here and there, that will just give it a little bit of variation. So I'm going to do mostly blue. That was kind of a purplish blue one on that one, and we are just going to put them as tight together as we can, so that it kind of creates that nice circular look. And we'll just continue to do that. This one's a little bit a smaller one. Smaller one is great if you want to kind of fill in at an edge. So we'll just kind of bring this one in and just tuck that really tight. The beginning when you're doing this, it might feel a little bit awkward, but the more you do it, the better you'll feel as you go along. So I love, love how that starts to look when you are putting that together. So we'll just press that in. What do you think about that so far? Isn't that pretty? Sandy, you said you have learned so many different things today. You're so glad you took the class. We are so glad you joined us today, Sandy. What is your top favorite thing you've learned? If you would want to chime in and tell me what your top favorite thing is that you've learned so far, that would be amazing. And hey, as a thank you for taking the online class, I would love if you would leave a review on what you experienced today. The link is right underneath this screen, so you can review, tell us what you loved, and you can also share the online classes with your friends. At the very end, I'm going to show you a class that we're coming out with for June that we're super excited about, so don't miss out on the preview of that one. You guys are one of the first ones to see the preview. And anytime you register for a class, you get a $15 credit that is added to your account that you can use on a future purchase. Okay, so how is that? I'm going to just hold this up so you can see how it looks at this point. So you'll see that the blue is kind of around this edge. I have some purplish in here. And you just kind of continue to just squeeze those little guys together. And I don't worry about how many I'm putting in. I just want it to look full. So if you've done, you can do 25 to 30. And if you want to do more, so we did have on the PDF to cut out quite a few. You could always do more, and you can use those on different projects. So lots of fun ways to just really quickly add those beautiful flowers the easy way. Jerry, you said you learned so many techniques. Another amazing class. We're glad you're with us today, Jerry. Oops, I just burned myself with my hot glue gun. Don't do that. That's a disclaimer. Don't burn yourself. That's because I was looking up at the screen and not using my tweezers. That is why we use the tweezers, so we don't burn our hands. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and just continue to add those little guys in there. How fun is that? I find that the hydrangea is one of my favorite flowers. I just love all the little petals that get popped in. How fun that is. Okay, so we have a good portion of the small one that is on top covered. Now at the very end, when I'm just kind of adding the final ones in, what I'm really looking for is I am looking to just make sure that everything looks nice and rounded and full. So you'll see it looks a little bit oblong and odd shaped right now. So we'll just go ahead and continue to add those flowers until it feels pretty circular. Does it have to be circular, right? In art, you can kind of create whatever type of flower you want, right? Okay, so now at the end, when you're placing flowers, you might find that there is a section like right in here that I'm like, oh, I kind of want a teeny tiny flower in. So I like to kind of make sure I kind of look out for that as well. At the end, you'll see some spots that you're like, oh, this should have a big one, or this is a spot that could take a smaller one. So I think we just need a couple pinkish ones yet, and that will finish off this beautiful hydrangea. So tell me what you love learning about this hydrangea. We have two sizes of the hydrangea. Today we're using the small one, but we also have a big one that's super pretty for albums and cards as well. But both sizes really do different things just based on what you prefer to create with them. So I think that, let's put one more. I'm almost like, oh, let's do one more, right? Okay, so we have one more that we're going to pop in here on the side. Oops, I'm jerking my hand away because it's like hot. Oh, I know why this is so hot. It's on high. If you have this glue gun, one tip is if you have it on low, the glue is not as hot when it comes out. So if you accidentally burn yourself like I did, it's not as, it doesn't make you jump as fast. But some ladies also use a little bit of a cold water jar beside them because they know that they will burn themselves occasionally. Okay, so we're going to pop in some flowers on the side here. You could add a little bow in if you wanted to. And the sentiment, have a beautiful day. Totally up to you if you wanted to add that or not. But you can add some flowers off to the side. And then you could add another one down here. So you can just have some fun adding those little finishing touches to that. So I hope this has been helpful. We have a couple elements that I just want to show yet, which was, you could go back and add your glitter if you wanted to. This one does not have glitter on the flowers, but I always typically add glitter to my projects when I'm finished. But this tag is for the back. So if you wanted to cover this part right here, you can go back and you can just add this tag lengthwise. You could even add a little photo or a little sentiment or something on top too if you wanted to. So that will just go on the back. So that is your back. And then you can add your ribbons and those little white tabs. So I'm going to just pull in the finished album so we can flip through that. And I'm like, I lost my glue cap somewhere, but I'm sure I can find it somewhere in this mess. Sandy, you said you would say the brush markers. You now understand the purpose of the Cut Mat Create dies. Yes, very excited to making this album. Donna, you said thanks for all the great ideas. The PDF list is great. The page numbers on the Cottage Collection paper is a great addition. Yes, we recently added that so we can have an easy reference, which is amazing. Okay, so Anna Louisa, you said, do you sell that glue gun? We don't. However, this glue gun, if you Google, I think, actually, I got one recently. I got one on Amazon if you're here in the US. It's the AdTech 2-temp dual temp glue gun is the one I'm using. And that one is a great one that I've liked. It has a narrow tip, 2 temps, which is great. I was actually, when we were more in quarantine or stay at home, my glue gun started to give out and I was like, oh no. So hopefully you have glue guns at home. But with this, you can add the ribbon of your choice off those tags at the end. Let me just show you that. So you can add those ribbons in there. And then you can just open this up, and if you wanted to add a ribbon in this section, and then you can go ahead and add your Especially For You folio into this spot. So you have that piece in there. And then you have this beautiful box in the center where you can add the ribbon. You can tie that into a ribbon. You can pull this in and out. And then you have that folio, the zigzag folio on the end with a ribbon tied shut as well. So once again, if you wanted to create a little pocket at the bottom to hold these in, you could, like we had talked about earlier. So it's totally up to you. Or if you wanted to just glue one on top that is similar to something like this, except it's flat, you could do that, or just add a magnet, totally up to you. But with that, that closes that up, and that completes our little beautiful hydrangea album. Before we go, I'll just flip through some samples I have here of the hydrangeas as well, so you can see some different ways that you can create with those. So we'll get some close-up views of that. Isn't that just pretty in different color combinations? Here's another one using the beautiful tag in the background and just showcasing that on a card with those beautiful hydrangeas. So lots of fun ways to create with those. Maureen, you said so gorgeous, can't wait to make one. Yes. So if you've enjoyed the class, we really appreciate that you've joined us, that you've watched. I can't wait to see what you create with this. You can share your pictures with us on Facebook. Who's going to be the first one to complete this and share a picture on Facebook? I would love if you'd leave a review on what you loved about this class. The review link is right underneath this screen. And when you do that by Saturday, you're going to get entered to win a $100 shopping spree. Isn't that going to be fun? So one of you is going to win a $100 shopping spree. So if you missed what I had said earlier about you qualify for a free die with a $100 purchase, just enter code 808724, and that expires on Saturday, May 9th. So just make sure that you take advantage of that when you're shopping with us by the end of the week. Before I go, I didn't want you to miss out on the next online class. Pre-registration just opened. So now is the time to get your spot in that class. When you register, you'll get that $15 credit added for pre-registering. And guess what we're going to do? Do you want to see a close-up? You're going to be the first ones to get a live close-up of this class. We're super excited. This flower has been the top-selling flower of 2020. This is the wild rose using a combination of the large and small wild rose. So if you would love to learn, I believe it's listed as 8 different ways to shape this flower, but we're going to learn a lot of techniques. These are just 3 different clusters that I'm showing you today. We have many more. And you'll learn how to do beautiful flowers the easy way. 8 different shaping techniques, and you'll leave the class with lots of flowers that you'll love. And your friends and family are going to freak out and ask you if you really made these. Good thing is, these will not wilt and die, and they will last forever, right? Thank you so much for joining me in this online class. I so appreciate each one of you, and we so appreciate how you don't just create for yourself, but you have inspired me today in sharing so many different ways that you have been helping your community as we go through the process of COVID-19. You've done amazing in sewing masks and gowns and just being a blessing to those around you. So thank you for being a positive impact on the world around you and for being part of the Heartfelt Creations crafting family. I've thoroughly enjoyed my time with you in this online class today, and I hope to see you back in June to create those beautiful one-of-a-kind flowers. Thank you for joining me today. I will see you next time. Bye.